Welcome back to Shinlong's Fitness Journal. I'm Shinlong, and in today's journal, I'm giving you basically medical update on my CT scan. I'll touch on that and a connection or a link, I should say, with steroids and diabetes, but not the steroids you're probably thinking. Anyway, I'm still under the weather. Um, the scan took a lot out of me, and I'll go into the details a little bit in a minute. I'll try to make this journal brief because, like I said, I am I'm beat up. All right, so in today's journal, we'll talk about my scans, what happened, and how it impacted my health at the moment. Um, can steroids give you diabetes? That's the question, right? And what to know, you know, after a CT scan. Okay, well, without further ado, my scans. Well, the preliminary results are looking good. There's no evidence of any malignant tumors or mass cancers or anything like that initially. Once the specialist sees it, I'll get more information and details. I do seem to have a lot of lipids or either muscle around one of my organs. So yeah, that's a thing. But it's nothing dangerous and anything like that. So that's a plus. All right. So effects of the procedure on my health. So basically, I got a CT. I got in a CT scan. Basically, I used to think of it's a glorified X-ray, I guess, with some magnetic resonance in there. I got to do a little bit more research on that. But the point is that in order to get a clear picture, they had to use a dye on me, a contrast. It highlights the organs against the background tissues of the body, making it easier for them to see tumors and things, lesions and things like that. A lot of people, including myself, have an allergy to the iodine that's used. I get itchy and weak, as well as get shortness of breath like what I'm experiencing now. Um, you know, there's a procedure in place, 13-hour prep, known as the Lasser protocol. Um, Basically, it's pre-medication regimen. What they do is, it's to help to prevent this allergic reaction. When they're doing an IV contrast, which is what they did to me. I didn't drink the shake, which is it's its own thing, where you can just because you can drink the shake, which is the contrast, and then the day that you go in. But I didn't do that for this one. That may only be for MRIs, now that I think about it. But in any event, I had the IV dye or the IV contrast. So basically, when you're allergic to it, like I said, like I am, you get the 13-hour prep, which is a combination of antihistamine, Benadryl, and a synthetic corticosteroid called prednisone. You may have heard of it. I've taken it before. Um, Basically, corticosteroids are a man-made version of the body's cortisol, which we naturally make. It's a stress hormone. The body naturally produces it. Okay, and it acts fast. For doctors to use it as a tool, it's fast acting, I should say. Um, and naturally, it calms down any type of inflammation, any type of act or a reaction to allergy. Like, say, if you have a shellfish allergy and you start to, swell up, they can use that, you know, as a way to kind of help out, help keep that reaction to a minimum so that you don't die. you know, um, it also is used so it suppresses the immune system, calms it down to ease, painful swelling. It's used for arthritis, asthma, and allergies, like I'm using. The Benadryl, causes drowsiness typically, but it's the prednisone that's the real showstopper. We're going to talk about that next. So some of the common, I don't know, I guess you can call them after effects or side effects with using prednisone. I experienced this increased appetite. I did get hungry after the procedure, but I was also nauseous. So, and it had my stomach, wasn't doing so well. A bit irritated too, but I was hungry. Um, you can retain fluid. I didn't, but that happens. But this is the kicker. So, I experience and am experiencing now blood sugar spikes. Um, for individuals with diabetes, this is a thing. This is a rough one. So before the actual scan, 13 hours before the scan, when I started taking the prednisone, I experienced a blood sugar spike. I went all the way up to like 360 according to my CGM. Now, which I'll get into that a little bit later, with how it affects the CGMs. It can give a higher reading than usual, in which case you want to do a finger prick, which is what I did. Um, but the when I did the finger prick, it was within 30 points higher than what my CGM was showing. But still high. I'm usually nowhere near 300. I'm nowhere near 150 anymore, honestly. But my blood sugar did spike, and I'll get into that, a little bit later on. So I talked about the iodine. That's the contrast dye. I mentioned that. I mentioned the Benadryl, the antihistamine, and the prednisone, and how it can spike your blood sugar and stuff like that. It is a steroid, and I'll get into that a little bit later. All right. So what you've all been waiting for. Can steroids, not the type you use to build muscle, but can steroids give you diabetes? The short answer is yes. It is something called steroid-induced diabetes, or SID. High blood sugar caused by glucocorticoid medication occurring in people with or without pre-existing diabetes. Whereas steroids, it basically creates insulin resistance. It blocks insulin's action and increases the liver's release of glucose, which can be good or bad. Depends. But it does that. So when this happens, it can temporarily lead to diabetes, or it can lead to true type 2 diabetes if you're on steroids for a long-term use. Now I'll go into this in another journal because I do have some take interesting experiences with this, so I'll talk about that later. But in any event, with these types of steroids, okay, you have prednisone, which is what I've taken over the years, on different occasions for different reasons. Then you have dexamethasone, which is kind of but everyone's heard of hydrocortisone. I know everyone's heard of that. Usually it's topical, a lot of times. But in any event, when taken internally, these can induce diabetes, both temporary and or short term. Depends on the use and the dosage of these steroids. Um, and so basically it depends on the dosage. The higher the dose, the longer the treatment, the longer the increase in the risk of developing diabetes. There's no getting around that. Temporary versus permanent. Like I said, when you stop using the steroid, it often resolves itself. However, if you're still using it for long terms, it can trigger, like I said, type 2 diabetes. And I mentioned the common steroids that are involved in that. So if you are on a steroid for any reasons, for any length of time, what you want to do is get a CGM, get a finger poke, keep an eye on it. Definitely keep an eye on that, especially if you do not have diabetes, because you don't want to develop diabetes as a result of being treated for another condition. Then the meds that you're taking to alleviate one condition will lead you to another. So yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. So yeah, just thought I'd share that. Okay, so got my CT scan day before yesterday. Um, I drank plenty of water a day or two before the scan. After the scan, drinking plenty of water. Um, I did use the 13-hour prep or the LASA protocol. As a result, I am monitoring my blood sugar like more than ever. I was a bit, you know, upset and bothered by the increase. There's not much I can do. I can't really get out and exercise. I can't walk. I have reduced, caloric intake, even though I'm hungry. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it. In fact, if I look over here on my handy dandy receiver, 163 milligrams per deciliter. I'm usually never that high, but here we are. By the way, it should take about 3 or 4 days for the prednisone to leave the system. So I expect by Sunday I should be good back within normal ranges. Also, make sure you get plenty of rest and recovery. Let the body do its thing. I intend on taking a nap after this video. After this journal, I just did want to journal this experience and share this with you guys. So, this is the results of the experience of the CT scan and finding out about steroid-induced diabetes. I just kind of came across it because I noticed my sugar spiked, and that is a thing, you know. So, really quickly, some takeaways. All right, the LASA protocol. Actually, if you are going in for a scan, MRI or CT scan, ask your med team if you will be using that 13-hour prep. If so, keep an eye on your blood sugar levels before and after, and let them know you have some concerns so that they can keep an eye on that as well. That'll be awesome. Remember that steroids such as prednisone can cause temporary rise in blood sugar. It's especially important for individuals with diabetes, such as myself, to keep that monitored. You also may experience fluid retention. I didn't, but that is a thing. And one last thing, blood pressure. Your blood pressure can briefly rise, so if you're monitoring that metric, which I know I am, don't be alarmed. That's also part of the steroid ride, if you will. So you will get that, and of course the possibility if you're using steroids in high doses or for long terms. But of course, I'm just referring to just to see a typical scan. You won't be taking that much. You'll only be taking 4 doses, and it's only for the scan, and then you metabolize and flush it right out your body. But last but not least, it is a possibility for steroid-induced diabetes, which can be temporary or permanent. Even consider, if you're on inhalers, for example, if you take an inhaler regularly, that's probably going to be a prednisone. That's going to be a steroid. So maybe it's worth your while to keep an eye on that on your sugars, on your glucose, if you're on an inhaler. It just really, you can never be too careful. You don't want to play around with diabetes. So that's a consideration too. It's a good takeaway from this as well. But yeah, steroid-induced diabetes is apparently a thing. So could be many people out there that have been misdiagnosed without even knowing it. Their blood sugar is high. They're thinking, or they're experiencing some type of insulin resistance, and they're thinking that it's their diet. They're not exercising enough. Could be whatever the case may be. And your med team, your doctor might say, hey, let's put you on an oral medication. Let's put you on a metformin or whatever the case may be. And we know, how that can go. But if they jump straight to insulin, if they say, hey, holy cow, your blood sugar's, through the roof, I'm not saying they will, but if they do, that can cause a type of insulin resistance. You don't want hyperinsulinemia. That's a thing. You don't want a bunch of insulin circulating in your body not doing anything. That will lead to insulin resistance, which will lead to diabetes. Anyway, but yeah, that's what I got for you guys for today. Um, I know it was a brief one. Thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm gonna go and lay down and recuperate, and I got some good stuff coming up that I have planned on later on. But today, I gotta go get a nap. But that's what I experienced with the scan. Luckily, thank goodness, nothing too serious. Got a ways to go. Get fit. I mean, I'm making strides. Got more to go. I can do it. You guys can do it too. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you for today. And again, thanks for watching. And what can I say? Identify your adversaries, commit to your adherence, and take back your health and vitality. Thanks again.